Hello all. Welcome to this webinar series Unbox S4HANA. This webinar series is for customers who are on S4HANA releases 15.11, 16.10, and it is to help you to understand the delta differences between your present release and the latest release from S4HANA, which is 1909. In this webinar series, we'll be covering not just the overview, we'll also be covering how to upgrade and also the various functional benefits which is available within S4HANA. Welcome to the session. Let's go deep dive. So the first, a standard disclaimer. So while we try our best to provide you all the possible features available within the present release, there might also be some functionalities which might be a forward looking. So just look at your product availability matrix as well as the features before taking any call. Now, there is a question, why should I attend? What is in for me? So as a customer who's on SAP S4HANA 15.11 or 16.10, you will be aware that SAP has given you a life cycle of about 20 years, which is from now till 2040 for your S4HANA solution. So your solutions are protected from now till 2040. But while the S4HANA as a solution is protected, the individual releases like 15.11, 16.10, each one of them have a 5-year maintenance cycle. So as a customer who is on 15.11, your S4HANA release has a shelf life till December 2020. Similarly, a customer who's on 1610 has a shelf life till 2021. So by that time, there is a need for us to upgrade. And while we do an upgrade, you will also be wanting to leverage the latest innovations from S4HANA. So this entire journey will be covering that part. So now, if you look at this webinar series, we have structured it in the same way. So we'll be starting with the webinars on overview, which is the evolution of S4HANA, the key functional innovations of S4HANA, as well as the how to upgrade, how to move from your 15.11 to 1909. And in subsequent webinar series, we'll be covering the finance, procurement, sales, manufacturing, the various other LOBs. For that, I'll request my colleague Manish to take over.
Okay. Yeah. So as we understood, like, okay, this is a session where we'll know like how S4HANA innovations are going to help us going forward. Now, SAP S4HANA, as we all know, was first introduced to the market in 2015 as SAP's very strategic digital core solution for intelligent enterprise. It was a very bold decision to make such a major shift from a very successful business suite to new future-focused solution that took the intelligent technologies approach so that SAP can provide a very comprehensive ERP solution for our customers. Okay, which means like, okay, we need to basically bring out the innovations into end-to-end business scenarios, which can help the customers to become more competitive. And if you see that, okay, with every release, the capabilities have grown along with our number of customers as well. So as we see that, okay, the customers on S4HANA are also growing. On the same line, the capabilities have also grown to that extent. So if you see like, okay, currently we are on 1909, and with 1909, you can see the innovations, for example, like the EWM or the transportation management or the advanced ATP are now part of the core itself. So which shows that, okay, the simplification has happened, which is actually avoiding the integration challenges what our customers are facing when we have these solutions as a satellite solution. But does that mean, okay, where we stop? No, because we are also trying to bring in the best of breed solutions in the cloud, where you can have, or the customers can have the end-to-end business scenarios running between these solutions itself, which is being offered from SAP. Like say, for example, you take a SuccessFactors, or you take basically the IBP solution where we do from a manufacturing point of view, the strategic planning, and you have the operational planning in the core itself. So that way it offers customer a best of breed solution, a very, you can say, very valuable end-to-end business scenarios to make their business scenarios more efficient. Okay, now to basically understand the whole the overall strategy of intelligent enterprise, we need to know like, okay, what all those basic pillars are there on which the intelligent enterprise has been built. Or you can say the business process are basically delivered keeping these pillars in mind. So first and foremost, again, we saw that, okay, we're talking about a platform which is open, which allows the customers to have a flexibility to build on top of what SAP is offering and to make their business scenarios more competitive. So obviously they need a kind of platform. So hence we have SAP S/4HANA platform over there where customer can use these as a platform, as an open platform to enhance and make their business scenarios as per their need. Yeah, so now you basically try to understand like, okay, when we talk about these business scenarios, obviously there are scenarios where I see that, okay, the new business model plays a very critical role. When we have situation like the current situation, obviously every organization will be looking for a new business model. So SAP is always putting these approach, trying to see in future and trying to deliver these new business model for our customers, which customers can directly consume it or they can adopt it directly to make their processes more efficient. So hence SAP is delivering again from SAP point of view. Now if you see from SAP S/4HANA, how this intelligent enterprise has been built over here. So there are 4 important pillars which we talk about. So obviously from a customer point, hence we have these simplified platform as well as the services enabled by SAP, which customers can consume and enhance their business scenarios. But if you see from a today's environment point of view, how the situation has changed, obviously customers are looking for new business models to survive in this particular market as well as to capture the new opportunities which are been developed in this particular scenarios. So obviously they need some kind of flexible system or ready-made scenarios which will allow them to become more competitive. So SAP has been delivering this business model or the new business scenarios and the innovation which allow customers to readily adopt them and make their processes more efficient. On top of it, as we talk about the simplified platform, so customers can use these business models or enhance their business scenarios on top of what SAP has delivered, and they can have their business scenarios or end-to-end scenarios more competitive. Similarly, when we talk about the automation, so with today's world, we cannot go ahead with the old way of having the business scenarios running. So obviously there are a lot of innovation which has happened. The technology has changed over a period of time. And obviously customers are looking for leveraging these new technologies. And why basically they need these technologies? Obviously to make their business scenarios more, you can say, automated, more efficient, so that they can come out with a best-in-class product or a services for their customers. So hence, SAP has basically come out and started leveraging these new technologies in the form of, say, for example, artificial intelligence or the robotic process automation, which again basically help our customers to make their business scenarios more efficient, more intelligent, which ultimately help our customer to deliver the quality services or the quality product for their customers. And obviously to deal with these new technologies, to deal with this new business model, the users, the end users, also has to play a very critical role over there. So obviously the simplifying the experience for them to make these processes more efficient, the user experience also has to change. So now what we are also doing with S/4HANA, as you know, the digital user experience for the end users has been also enhanced, where now we are using the digital assistants or the NLP or the natural language processing for allowing the users to interact with the system and deliver the business scenarios in a more efficient and more productive way. So hence you can see, we talked about the Fury, where it helps or give the new experience for our users, which is actually making them or making their business scenarios more efficient. Obviously, apart from that, we talked about the analytics. So analytics is also embedded, where as we are talking about an operational user who is doing a particular transaction or a particular business scenario, and along with it, if he is able to get the insights of the various data points at that point in time, he will be in a very good situation to take a decisions, and there will not be any delay in decisions. So if we have the analytics, which is running on a real-time basis, at the point in time where it is required, obviously the decision making will be faster, and which will help the customers as well as their end users to take certain decisions on the fly or wherever they are, and accordingly make the business scenarios more efficient, more intelligent, more innovative for their customers as well. So these are some of the 4 pillars on which the intelligent enterprise has been built. Now let us basically try to understand, like, okay, when we talk about the intelligent enterprise, what exactly we mean by it when we say SAP is delivering these in the form of S4HANA. So SAP S4HANA, as we said, it is most comprehensive ERP, which leverages these new technologies, be it artificial intelligence, be it basically RPA, or even the innovations which are being delivered in the core process as well. So in this slide, I'm trying to basically give you a view where across all LOBs, be it procurement, be it sales or supply chain, manufacturing, you can see the innovations are being delivered with every release. You can see the innovations are in the form of machine learning applications. For example, in procurement, you can see the predictive contract consumptions, or in the sales, you can talk about a predictive quote to order kind of scenarios. Like this, you can see in all the LOBs, the various number of scenarios has been delivered in the form of like ML, or you can say the predictive analytics, or you can say basically using an RPA scenario. Now, this is not only with regard to or limited to only LOBs, but also you can see from an industry point of view, the scenarios or the innovations have been delivered across these 25 industries as well. So this makes the customer's life easy, where we are trying to use the best of breed solutions, where like say SAP Ariba, which is a cloud solution, or an IBP, which is strongly integrated with the core scenarios of core S4HANA, and on top of it, leveraging the new technologies of like machine learning or RPA. This all overall basically makes the scenarios or the intelligent enterprise much more comprehensive. That means it basically helps the customers to really address their business need, as well as to make their business scenarios or processes, as well as the product, more competitive in nature. And similarly, if you see like, okay, all these innovations are being delivered. So far, we are delivering it. Until 1909, we have also delivered a huge number of these innovative solutions. But we are not stopping over here. We are also giving customers a 3-year view, a roadmap basically, which is nothing but an insight in 3 years, so that customers can plan their business transformation accordingly. So these 3-year roadmap is also publicly available for our customers to look into it and then plan their transformation journey accordingly. Now let us get into some more details, like over a 5 years of S4HANA journey from 1511 onward, how we have evolved. Now you can see with every release, the innovations has been delivered till 1909. And also now the next release is S4HANA 2020. There as well, you can see a good number of innovations which are being planned to be delivered. Now from this particular slide, it also gives you an impression like, okay, how the evolution of these intelligent technologies has happened over there into the business scenarios. So we have used Fiori, we have used the predictive analytics over here to come out with those intelligent scenarios. Now I can see, for example, an MRP cockpit, which has been introduced in 1610. And whereas if you go into 1909, we are now talking about a predictive MRP over here. So when we consider the MRP, obviously the innovation is basically trying to simplify the MRP. But obviously it is with the assumption of having an infinite capacity. But when we go for a practical scenarios, it may not be the case. Obviously there are work center, there are resources, and I also need to consider the capacity. So hence predictive MRP is what basically introduced over here, which helps the customers to also consider the capacity and come out with a more accurate planning results. So that now you can see has been part of 1909 delivery itself. So you can see the innovations, like say, for example, the embedded warehouse management, which was delivered in the past, but then subsequently you can see the innovations also has happened in every release on the embedded warehouse management itself, or extended warehouse management, sorry. So that means incrementally we are also delivering the innovation for the innovation topic which has been delivered in the previous releases, so as to make it more comprehensive, make it more competitive, and make it more efficient as and when we progress. So innovations are being delivered. So you might have a question like, okay, should I basically look for 1709, 1809, or 1909? So SAP always recommend to look for a latest release. Like now we are talking about the 1909. Because it basically gives you a complete view of where all basically the innovations are there as of now. And customers can leverage the benefit or basically leverage or take the advantage of those innovations which have been delivered so far. So let us understand and get into some more detail where we can talk about the LOBs, where we'll have the innovations delivered over there to make these processes more efficient. So in this session, I will basically walk you through with the highlights of these innovations which are delivered from 1511 onward till 1909. Subsequently, we'll have those detailed sessions where the team will walk you through on these innovations in more detail. Now let us talk about the finance section, which is much more critical area from any organization point of view. So if you see 1511, you are already aware, 1511, 1610, good innovations are there, the data model got changed and all. But then what are those additional innovation which has been delivered over there from a finance point of view? So you see from a finance point of view, it got processes with regard to financial accounting or maybe the financial operations or even the cost management profitability analysis. So in each of these areas, you can see good amount of innovation has been delivered, leveraging these new technologies, either ML or even RPA as well. Or even you can see the innovations are in the core itself. It is not like, okay, everything on ML, but even in the core business scenarios, you can see a change over there. So take the example of the core scenarios of T accounting view over here. Okay, so T accounts, as we all know, is very well known as a standard data structure in the context of bookkeeping and accounting. Since they are also a structure of choice for teaching, it is reasonable that people with an educational background in accounting will be familiar with it as well. So with S4HANA, the new Fiori app display journal entries in T account view is being shipped in order to provide the general ledger accountants with more visuals and familiar approach to analyze the general entries. So this makes a life easier for our accountant to see the view or to see the, you can say, the journal entries in a much more familiar way so that they can basically analyze it and take certain decisions immediately. So you can see this efficiently comprehend the business transaction with all its related document in the T-view accounting display. You can spot errors natively and solve them based on the clear understanding of the impact what it will have on your P&L. And even you can see there are like native drill down which has been provided. That means you can get into the detail of each of these GL entries as well over there. From the same application or same app, the accountant can get into the document flows as well, which can give you a 360-degree view for the complete business transaction. It also basically packed up with a graphical representation of the dependencies as well. You can see the entire view for the T account view has been changed over there. Similarly, you can see there is a ML for GRIR reconciliation as well. So anyway, in the subsequent slides or in the subsequent sessions, webinar sessions, you will know some more detail about it. But in short, if you see a scenario where you have multiple entries or multiple transactions or GRs happening on a day, it becomes difficult for an accountant to match these GRIR balances. And if there are differences, it further becomes difficult how to handle these GRIR balances or the differences itself. So now this machine learning helps in identifying as well as proposing how to deal with these kind of GRIR balances and help you in having a efficient reconciliation mechanism. So like this in finance, the innovations are being delivered with regard to the currencies, with regard to the group reporting, with regard to even the IFRS reporting as well, so that it can make the finance much more stronger from a business point of view. So customers can definitely take a leverage of these innovations and make their processes or end-to-end scenarios much more competitive and much more robust. And on top of it, leveraging these new technologies of using ML or even RPA make their business scenarios automated as well as more efficient, so that the customers or the end users can do more strategic thinking over there and make their scenarios more efficient rather than spending their time on a regular mundane task. Similarly, let's go to manufacturing topic now. So let's understand, okay, what are those innovations which are delivered in the manufacturing area. So this is also very important. And if you see from a manufacturing point of view, it starts with the planning, and where basically it goes up to the delivery of a finished good, and that too with a quality. So obviously, if you see from a process where we have the entire material handling, we have the planning of these materials using various technologies or various methods of planning, and then finally delivering this business or finally delivering this finished good as per the need of our customer, and that too with the right quality. So now, as we understood about the MRP, so the MRP has also been enhanced over here, and using a capability of machine learning applications over there. Now we also have a predictive MRP over there, which basically guides the customers to consider the capacity, or even also try to basically the ML applications helps you to understand what all basically the constraints are there and how these constraints will be resolved. So there are proposals which have been delivered by our machine learning applications as well. Similarly, we talked about a DDMRP, which is nothing but a demand-driven MRP, which helps the customers to have a buffer planning as well. So this DDMRP also helps in a scenarios where you have a tailor-made components or tailor-made finished good to be delivered to your customer in a given time period. So nowadays, customers basically cannot wait for a longer duration to get their finished good delivered. So obviously, with the changing demand and changing the need of our customers, the product has to be delivered in no time. Otherwise, we'll lose the business to lose our customers to our competition. So the DDMRP basically helps in addressing that, in planning your buffers for various sub-assembly levels, and it can help you in delivering your finished good at the right time to your customers. Here also we are talking about like leveraging the new technologies with regard to RPA or with regard to the ML, where we are using like predicting the stock in transit. Like say, for example, we have multiple locations, multiple plants, and materials are moving using stock transfer between locations. So if I have a view by when my materials will be delivered, obviously it will help me in having a more efficient planning. So this predicting stock in transit helps you in identifying by when the material or a finished good or a raw material will be delivered to my different locations. Similarly, when we talk about plan independent requirement, which is again more from a planning point of view. So there is an RPA or robotic process automation for a PIR for maintaining it at a mass level has been delivered over here. So you can use an RPA here to maintain or having a mass maintenance of these PIR. So take an example of an organization where when you are running this planning cycle, you will have huge number of plan independent requirements. And obviously to maintain that plan independent requirements, it becomes kind of manual task. To avoid that, you can use an RPA to make it more efficient. So likewise, you can see in the overall manufacturing scenarios, the innovations have been delivered in the core, as well as we also use new technologies like ML or RPA to deliver and make this process more efficient. And even the totally new innovation topics like DDMRP has been also introduced over here, which is a totally new innovation. And again, you can see the enhancements will be coming into these innovations in the subsequent release as well. On the sourcing and procurement as well, you can see there are also innovations right from again beginning where the requirement generation starts till the materials are delivered by your suppliers to your organization. So here a very good example of like say image-based buying, where again, if say for example, a user is in the field or in the factory, and if there is a requirement of a particular part, like a failure of a part is there in a machine, so obviously for him it becomes a very time consuming job to identify the part code and then place a request and then get the order of that particular material. Now with this image based buying, the user can take an image of that particular part which he want to order. The application or the process basically will automatically identify the part code for it. And from there itself, a user can place a purchase requisition or a request for buying this particular product itself. So you can see by this, your process has become so efficient, your entire lag has been reduced here by a good number of hours. And the moment basically you place this order, obviously you can start seeing like, okay, who all are basically your suppliers are there who can supply this part in a much more faster time. So accordingly, the system can also propose you based on their vendor evaluation or vendor rating, or even on the delivery performances, who all are basically the suppliers from where you can get this particular part to be delivered. So like this, these innovations are making the processes, the efficient processes for business operations to work upon. Similarly, there are also innovations with regard to like a central procurement, or you can talk about machine learning for contract proposition, or machine learning applications for PO delivery, or supplier delivery predictions. So these machine learning applications again help the customers to have these processes more efficient. So these predictive analytics or these predictive alerts gives a view to our buyers or the requester to see like, okay, when the contracts are getting consumed. So that means they have to start negotiating or start identifying a next contractor who can deliver these particular parts to them, or the existing contractor who can basically negotiate on like the volume or so, and then have a contract working for that, so that you don't basically disrupt the supply of those materials. So these insights, again, along with the transactions, customer can get it or the buyers can get it on a real-time basis. So that helps the buyers to have a proper decision making. So you can see, and the customers can leverage the innovations which has been delivered in the entire P2P cycle over here to make it more visible, more accurate for them. Similarly, when we go to sales and service as well, so there as well, you can see a business scenario has been delivered with all those innovations. Now you can see in the sales, so we already have scenarios with regard to subscription billing, or you can say a delivery prediction kind of thing, which is again basically helping our customers or the sales guys to address their customer need in a more efficient way. So if you see a customer 360-degree view, so this gives you a complete insight for our sales guy about a particular customer on what all thing has happened with regard to customers. So this again basically from order point of view or from defining a priority point of view for a customer's order, the decision can be taken efficiently on a real-time basis itself. Because these customer 360-degree view provide a complete insight about a customer, which are more of like you can define like, okay, which are more strategic for you, and then accordingly you can take an action on it. The sales order fulfillment cockpit is nothing but a kind of dashboard which provides the complete insight to our sales guy or our end users to act on those business scenarios which are very critical from a customer point of view, or to do basically kind of thing which is like, say for example, to start my day, the customers or the end users can get into the sales order cockpit. It will basically highlight or it will help you in identifying what all areas where they should be focusing more upon. Similarly here as well, as we mentioned, so here in the sales cycle, in O2C cycle as well, we have leveraged the technologies as well with regard to ML or even RPAs or the situation as well. So there are standard templates of situations also has been provided, or the standard use cases with regard to machine learning has been also provided. Like you say, for example, the prediction of like the probability of getting or converting the quote into an order. So that is also one of the machine learning application which helps the customers to identify for the quotes what they have submitted, what is the probability of converting them into an order. So that helps them in managing the customers well as to plan their things accordingly. So likewise, you can see from Salesforce or you can say from an overall sales management point of view, how things are delivered in the end-to-end business scenarios. Now, by this time, you would have understood like, okay, how the overall architecture for S4HANA has been built and how the business scenario has been delivered over here. So now, with regard to the technologies, we have leveraged the artificial intelligence, the conversational AI, which is nothing but helping the customers to have or build their own chatbots or leverage the chatbot which are delivered by SAP to make the digital experience much more smoother for the end users. Similarly, the intelligent RPA scenarios, which are basically helpful for our customers to really automate those business scenarios, which are a kind of a mundane task. The situation handling triggers the alerts for our customers based on the business scenarios where they can define the conditions on which they would like to have an alert, and the situation templates can be leveraged accordingly, and customers can act on, or the end users can act on those situations as well. And when we talk about getting into more intelligent scenarios, so obviously the machine learning scenarios can be leveraged over here. So you can have these kind of self-learning bots. You can have the machine learning scenarios. You can have the predictive analytics also over here. And if you can see the business scenarios, end-to-end business scenarios, we are not talking about like leveraging these technologies in silos, but you can combine these technologies together in your end-to-end business scenarios to make your business scenarios much more stronger, much more efficient. Okay, and as I basically talked about the platform, basically this platform also is open platform, which allows your customers to consume these services. And on top of what SAP has delivered, customers also can build their own business scenarios or intelligent scenarios itself and leverage these technologies or new technologies to make their product more competitive or make their business scenarios more competitive. So this is more of, say, for example, how the operational purchaser we talked about, like how in a day he can make the entire business cycle more efficient, where the machine learning applications or the RPAs can help them, or the conversational AI can help them in making the business scenarios more efficient. So it can search the part, it can basically suggest the right part, the right suppliers over here, or the right contract over here. And also it can give you a view like, okay, by when the material will be delivered. And also a user can interact with the system directly using the conversational AI to use the system as a digital assistant who can guide on like, okay, what is the status of the request and how the material and by when the material will be delivered to him. So this makes the entire business scenario more efficient. And you can refer to these YouTube videos to see like, okay, how the end-to-end scenario is becoming more efficient. So we talked about these conversational AIs, where we are talking about like the intelligent technologies which are being used. So this is nothing but kind of a bot which a customer can use it and make their business scenarios more efficient. Like say, for example, we are talking about like communication. If the intelligent scenarios or the customer or the end user want to interact with the system or with the processes, the bot can help you in carrying out those transactions for him. From the conversational AI point of view, you can see like, okay, you can also have a collaboration where the end users can also even capture the screen and share it with the departments or the team who are actually responsible for taking an action. There are again like various functions which are also embedded over here, which is nothing but a kind of digital assistance for the users to make the business scenarios more efficient. Similarly, as we talk about the RPA or the situation handling, so here as well, we are talking about using these technologies into their end-to-end business scenarios, where again, you can use the RPA, which is not like dependent on a screen, but then it uses the API technologies, which is irrespective of a change in a screen, you can still continue to use the RPA scenarios over here. So it is not just a screen capturing, but it basically works internally using an API. And if you want to basically update this, and if there are some screen changes, then also it helps you in having a more efficient RPA scenarios working for you. Similarly, when we talk about the situation handling, so here as well, we have various conditions or even the templates which have been provided by SAP, which customers can leverage and use it or define basically their own conditions and define basically the situation on which end users can get a trigger or an alert. We talked about the machine learning application. So here as well, we talk about like using various machine learning applications for prediction, or even for more complex applications where we use the deep learning of it and apply these machine learning technologies over there to make the business scenarios more efficient. And we talk about now the industry 4.0, we are moving toward it, and where the IoT is going to play a very critical role, where we'll be leveraging the sensor data. So obviously these technology as well as the platform should be sufficient enough to address these sensor data and help the customer to have or to make their business scenarios close to industry 4.0. So we talk about these machine learning, where again, as we talk about like the forecasting scenarios or the embedded predictive scenarios, where we have a very simplified machine learning application. So then these are all the embedded one, but when we have a complex thing, so those have been delivered as part of a separate platform where the customers can leverage the SAP Cloud Platform and have these complex machine learning scenarios delivered over there, or they can consume these services and build the complex machine learning scenarios. So this is a very good example of automatic invoice matching, the Cash App, where the Cash application helps you in managing these payment invoices and matching it with the proposals over here, where it basically helps you in doing the end-to-end automation over here for the bank statement which has been coming over here, and helping in having a very efficient reconciliation of the, you can say, the payment invoices what we have received from our banks and the payments from our customers. So this again, basically the Cash App helps in more intelligent way of having a reconciliation and sorting out on the differences over here. On the embedded analytics as well, as we talk about, so this is again something, as I talked about, the innovations which helps the customers to leverage these embedded analytics, and leveraging the Fury application over here, those apps where we are using the CDS views and giving the real-time insight of the analytics, so that the decision making can be much more efficient when we are executing the business scenarios. So as we talk about the Fury, so this is nothing but a kind of a new user experience for our customers, which is again agnostic to device. And using the Fury application, you can see many innovations has been delivered over there, which have been embedded over here. Like we talk about the predictive analytics, so you can have these analytics embedded over there in the Fury application, or even the machine learning applications. Basically, you can see over there, which is also running along with your transactions. So this is possible with a Fury application. And as I mentioned, basically, there are machine learning application which does the prediction or gives you a proposal. So that also you can use it using the Fury applications over there, agnostic to any devices. Yeah, so this, again, as I mentioned, so the user experience has been improved with the Fury, and customers, end users can be much more efficient over here, where they don't have to jump from one screen to another screen, but using the dashboard, the Fury dashboard, they can have their business scenarios, or you can say the processes much more efficient. Okay, so this we talked about, and we are basically talking about like a Fury, the third generation Fury over here, where we are saying that, okay, the harmonized look and feel across all the SAP products you can see, where we are having an end-to-end business scenarios. And also we are talking about role-based applications, where the role-based dashboards will be there, which can deliver, or which a user basically can see the application or the transactions, which, or you can talk about the business scenario which they are going to use it. It can be delivered in a dashboard in a role-based manner, like an accountant will have its own accountant-related business scenarios coming in front of him, and accordingly he can execute the business scenarios from there itself. So as we understood, like, okay, the intelligent enterprise, and we are trying to make the business scenarios across all LOBs much more efficient. So if you see from an end-to-end intelligent enterprise point of view, so we are trying to deliver these intelligent scenarios, be it idea to product or lead to cash or source to pay or finance. You can see all those business scenarios has been enhanced and being continuously enhanced in a subsequent release. So customers can leverage this business scenarios and make their business scenarios more intelligent by adopting these delivered products or delivered innovations by SAP. So this, in true sense, will make the end-to-end business scenarios much more efficient for our customers so that they can deliver a best-in-class product to their customers. As we talk about the roadmap as well, so we mentioned that, okay, the 3 years view, which customers can get in through these particular roadmap, which basically talks about the innovations which are planned in the subsequent releases itself, or the enhancement to the existing releases which are planned in the subsequent release. So customers can have a look at it and then accordingly plan for the innovations or plan for their transformation journey to adopt these innovations in their business scenario itself, and have a complete view of how they would like to take their transformation journey in the subsequent release. So hence it is always recommended that, okay, the customer should go for a latest release and also have a view of these roadmap items so that when they define their business scenario, it will help them in planning it in a better way. So as we talk about the releases, so the current release is 1909, and now we are basically preparing for the 2020 release, where you can see the innovations which are planned for 2020 will be delivered for our customers so that customers can start leveraging those innovations as well. And as I basically mentioned, so the technologies we are using over here, you can see the enhancement using ML or RPA scenarios across those 4 pillars, improving the user experience, allowing customers to have new business models. So these innovations have been planned in all, you can say, the subsequent releases. So the next release which is planned is 2020 in October. Now, how do we get there? How do we customer adopt these new intelligent technologies and make their business scenarios more intelligent, or they can start their transformation journey? Let's hear it from Seema. So I'll hand over it to Seema. She can walk you through on how customers can get into the new intelligent technologies. So Seema, over to you.
Thank you, Manish. You have given a lot of information to our customers on the features available with 1909 and the feature roadmap for 2020. I'm sure all our customers are highly excited to avail all these features by upgrading their software to 1909. So I would take our customers through how do we do an upgrade. Okay, before we start off upgrade, the moment I have the concept where I need to do an upgrade, the first thing that comes to my mind is how do I start my journey? So SAP has given this tool, a beautiful tool, which is called as SAP Roadmap Viewer. This SAP Roadmap Viewer, customers can start accessing now itself, whether they are in the journey phase or they are also in the starting phase, or even if they are into operational phase, customers can avail and they can look forward for how their journey would look like in case they plan to do an upgrade project. So when you log on to the SAP Roadmap Viewer, the Roadmap Viewer will give you entire roadmap, which includes discovery phase, prepare phase, explore phase, realize, deploy, and run. So if you look at the slide, I have shown it here. The first page, it starts with the overview. You can also drill down and you can particularly select for discovery phase. So any point in time, customer can go back to this URL and look for what they need to do during discovery phase or prepare phase, explore, realize, deploy, and run phases. In order to pursue this upgrade project, they might have to create a project plan. So for that project plan, what we have facilitated is accelerators. If you click on the accelerator, you will be able to download entire project plan, which is as a template, which is given to the customers. The template has all these phases and it has all these activities which are detailed in discovery, all the phases of the upgrade project. If you look at the discovery phase, it talks about strategic planning. It talks about application value and scoping and trial system provisioning. The customer can pick and choose particular activities from here, and then they can create customized project plan for the upgrade project. So I would strongly suggest that all the customers should go ahead and download this accelerator, keep it handy, and pick and choose the relevant activities. And these activities again have got micro activities which we can be used for assigning to the roles and responsibility of a person who will be executing those activities, right? Okay, we all spoke about project plan. We all spoke about how to start a project. We also saw the activate methodology, which gives me a detailing of what all phases needs to run through. Me being an IT person, when I'm thinking over which all facilities can be used, which all processes I can use, then to get the tailored solution for my landscape, whereas when I might have implemented only finance, I could have implemented only purchasing, or I could have implemented only sales. So when I know that I'm doing only few functionalities, why would I go through entire laundry list of what SAP has to offer? So how customers can identify what they need to innovate in their existing processes, we have provided SAP Innovation and Optimization Pathfinder 2.0 report. So what we do is we take your information from the SAP running system, ST03N is a workload analysis. We will pull it out for 1 month, and this information will be fed to the URL where you can generate SAP Pathfinder report. This report will give you the possible innovation a customer could do based on the usage, current usage. Over and above, he can also do extra innovation, but within existing processes, if he has to identify what processes he can innovate, it gives me a complete list of processes based on my line of businesses. And these line of businesses are finance, sourcing and procurement, sales and service, supply chain, manufacturing, and asset management. So customer who just has to do an upgrade can also look into these functional enhancements which he can carry forward. Not only that, Pathfinder also gives you an improvement opportunities within current existing environment. What all improvement you can do it, that also information is provided in Pathfinder. All those customers who are on 15.11, definitely they need to do an upgrade by end of this year. Apart from that, Pathfinder also provides you the accelerated innovations for optimizing your IT, which talks about, housekeeping jobs which you can perform. All the functional team could have performed apart from the basis activities. This report also gives you something called as FAR report, Fiori application report, where it also gives the prediction. If you have generated Pathfinder for 1909, it will give you a list of all the Fiori applications which you could have used based on your usage in the current system. These Fiori applications will be the probable applications you could use it once you migrate to 1909. So you will see the tremendous difference which has come in between 1511 to 1909. Not only the Fiori applications, even the performance of Fiori applications have been improved. That listing you can get it from this Pathfinder reports. So this report can be availed. I would suggest all the customers to avail this report once in 6 months so that they can also see what are the new things which are popping up and the new products, as well as you can also optimize on your innovations. Well said, well done. How to upgrade? After having all this information, when I'm a customer who is having 1511, of course, the customer who is on 1610, he still has a 1 year. For a customer who is on 1511 who targets to complete his upgrade project by end of this year, the steps involved for the customer is first, database upgrade, and second would be S4HANA version upgrade. All the customers right now who are on 1511, they all are on HANA 1.0 because the initial release of 1511 was done on 1.0. So to migrate to 1909, the first step you need to go is to HANA 2.0. So what does it mean for me? Me, a business user, if I have to do an SAP HANA 1.0 to 2.0, this is my first downtime I need to plan for the business downtime, which I need to plan for the project. So this could be done over the period of time You can plan it. Either you can plan it with along with the release S4HANA version upgrade, or you could also do this 1 week before the S4HANA version upgrade. So what we would recommend is, because you are already running short of time, you should be doing this downtime 1 week before you complete the S4HANA version upgrade. So once we have done SAP S4HANA 2.0 upgraded to SAP S4HANA 2.0, SAP S4HANA version now 1511 runs on HANA 2.0, right? Once we have this, then we can start S4HANA version upgrade. This version upgrade basically will have a preparation phase and the realization phase. As I talk about the preparation phase, this is the preparation phase which customer can do independent of the actual upgrade. Within this preparation phase, I have a system requirements, maintenance planner, SI checks, and custom code migration work list. These are the 4 blocks which I can do it irrespective of realization phase now itself. When it comes for the realization phase, then I can do preparation phase one more time with a delta changes. So any point in time, customers can go ahead and do the preparation phase irrespective of their project initialization. So we'll get into step by step. Okay, now I'm the customer who are on 1511 or 1610. The first thing that comes to my mind is I have the hardware which has been deployed. For example, it could be an appliance, it could be an TTI, and I would like to understand whether my existing hardware can accommodate 1909, or can I do an hardware shift? How do I go about? So what I would request all the customers is get in touch with your hardware vendors, take the entire list of appliances which you have. SAP has provided certified and supported SAP hardware directory in which you can identify the current hardware whether it is capable of handling SAP HANA 2.0. If it is capable, then well, you don't have to do any investment from hardware perspective. You can directly go ahead and start your upgrade technical project. We have also given a configuration check tool which also provides, in case if you go for 1909, what will be the kind of performance you will have and what will be the inputs. This we can, by using SAP Note hardware configuration check tool, you can also predict what kind of performance you will get it when you shift from 1511 to 1909 or 1610 to 1909. Apart from this, when it comes for a hardware requirement, because you are doing an upgrade from 1511 to 1909, you also need to predict how long the software you are going to keep it. For example, if you plan to keep the software for say next 5 years, you will do an upgrade to 1909 and you will continue to run in 1909 up to next 5 years. In this case, you will have to predict the load for next 5 years. Based on the prediction of your load, you can either take a call of extending your hardware, or you can also say that, okay, my hardware is sufficient for 1 year or 2 years. Probably I can take up the extending of hardware maybe in after 3 years. So this becomes very important for you when you're doing an upgrade. Please do make sure that next 5 years or 3 years, as per your business policies, IT policies, how much load are you going to predict, and based on the prediction, you can plan your hardware capacity. How do I do it? How do I predict? We have this tool, something called as SAP Quick Sizer. You can go to the Quick Sizer, you can input the current load which you are facing in your system, and you can also choose the software 1909 and put the same load on 1909. You can see what kind of hardware capacity is required. Beyond that, you can also add in certain load and you can conclude to a version of hardware requirement for your project. So this is how you can take care of your hardware requirement. The second part which comes into is operating system requirement. Once operating system requirement, you need to find out what version you are running in right now. You can go to this note number, supported operating systems, and you might have to do an probably operating system upgrade. In case if you have not done it in last 1 year, probably you might have to do this operating system update. So what it calls for is again a downtime. So you'll have to predict one more downtime over here in case your operating system is not supporting SAP HANA 2.0. To find out which operating system is required for 1909, you can go back to this SAP note, and you can also check it from product availability matrix. This is the second part. The third part, database requirement. Anyway, when you did an hardware requirement assessment, you also have seen that HANA 2.0 sits on a particular hardware. For example, IBM 8 Power 8 series. In case customers are running their S4 HANA on IBM, say 6.0, then you will have to upgrade your hardware, right? This is the second thing. Then comes the connected NetWeaver system compatibility. In case customer is running, apart from S4 HANA, NetWeaver versions or the BW version or the PI, now you need to identify which compatibility you need to get into. For this, you can follow 2251609. Based on this note number, all the latest updated NetWeaver are compatible with 1909. So you can identify whether you need to touch these systems or you need not touch these systems. Okay, you can use this note number. Third-party software compatibility is something you need to check with, the third-party software vendors, whether are they capable of compatible and capable to running with the 1909. Once you have these details, the last thing that remains is Fiori deployment option. Most of the customers who are on 1511 are running a different deployment option for Fiori. So they have a different Fiori gateway server and UI. From 1909, we have embedded the Fiori applications. Now you need to take a call whether you want to go with embedded or you want to have a separate installations. What we recommend is if your installation is small, then probably you should go for the embedded. This is the system requirements. Once the system requirements are gathered, the next step is to create a maintenance planner. In this maintenance planner, this is the one which is hosted on SAP. This helps all the customers to generate a stack.xml file. This stack.xml file will in turn produce a file which can be used for the upgrade project with a SUM tool. What does it do? The maintenance planner also checks the upgrade compatibility, industry solutions, add-ons, business functions which you have activated. It gives you a roadmap how to upgrade it. If there is something which doesn't have a roadmap, then maintenance planner will ask you to uninstall that package. And if there is no roadmap, proper roadmap for a particular project, even your upgrade can get stuck over here. So basically, you can create an XML file. You can identify which all components which you have done an add-on can be upgraded. The same file can be used for checking the SUM tool. SI checks. This is the third preparation phase, wherein SI checks is basically an application specific checks. SI checks is embedded with custom code migration tool as well. When you run a simplification item check report, it will give you the list of all the functionalities, whether they are compatible in 1909, which all functionalities need a relevance check and which needs the consistency check. This checks, you can run it independent of your upgrade project. If you're on 1610 or 1709, you can also run an SI check to check what all simplification item you will have to take care once you do an upgrade. This SI check is also called when you do an SUM upgrade. The fourth one is custom code migration check. This is the mandatory step, which is the output of again a SI check. Beyond SI check, you might have an custom code which is independent of all other processes that has to be taken care manually. You can also do a custom code check using ABAP test cockpit for detecting quality issues and performance security related execution checks. Apart from this, there are optional steps which customer is supposed to monitor and are day-to-day basis. These are optionals. These are not a mandatory step. For example, you should keep monitoring your usage of the custom code. Also, you can also do a decommissioning of ABAP code either using a solution manager, or you can also do an manual decommissioning of the custom code. Or you can also see that unused list of custom codes can be deleted from the system. This is the custom code, which has to be a mandatory step. By doing this, you can also find out the effort required for the custom code checks, right? Now coming back to your realization phase. Okay, now we have done all the preparation steps. You have acquired the systems, you have done the custom code, and we have also done the SI checks. Now we are into execution phase. That is realization. So when the execution starts, what the basis consultant does is he will start the tool called as SUM, okay, Software Update Manager. This Software Update Manager is the one which will take you through entire uptime and downtime activities. So if you look at this, you have SUM uptime processing, then you have a ramp down, then technical SUM downtime, post activities, business validation, then ramp up. So when SUM tool is executed on a production system, the business is on, people are accessing the system, and they are doing day-to-day transaction. Parallelly, you're also running a SUM tool, which creates a shadow instance, and it starts creating an upgrade path. And there is a period where you need to ramp down. That's where your technical downtime would start. So the moment technical downtime is completed, the system is up in the new version, you would be doing a post activities, and then you have a business validation time. So when you complete a business validation and then you ramp up, that means your system is already converted to 1909. Now you have predicted what is your technical downtime and what is your business downtime. So when I am doing upgrade projects, so I have a technical downtime which can be controlled in a sense based on the business downtime. I can also control my technical downtime, for which you can refer these notes. For example, if the business downtime is only 24 hours and technical downtime is going beyond 24 hours, then I can do a fine tune, right? So these are the note numbers which will help you to reduce your technical downtime. And of course, business validation and post activities are something which again can be controllable. And we can reach to the level of a downtime where your business agrees and you can conceptualize on your project. Okay, looking at the SUM tool, we have these are the phases. The moment we execute SUM tool, I see extraction phase, configuration phase, checks, pre-processing, execution, and post-processing. These are the roadmaps. Each of the phase, these are the listed important phase. Each of the phase has got sub-phases in terms of, I would say around 50 to 20 sub-phases. These phases are not listed here. There's one file called as upgana.xml. Once you complete the first sandbox upgrade, you will get that upgana.xml. If you open it, open the extraction phase, you will see what all activities have been performed. If you look at the slide, the moment you finish your SUM post-processing, that's where your upgrade is completed. You would hand over your system for the business validation. Once the validation is done, you ramp up and you go live, right? We will have a brief overview on these phases. The first phase is extraction roadmap. In this phase, the input, we give it as a stack.xml as an input for the SUM tool. Through this tool, we also give the path for the download directory where you have already downloaded all the softwares which are required for the upgrade. During this extraction roadmap, it will also ask the relevant users which are required to log on to SAP system and for creating a shadow instance. The next phase is configuration roadmap. This configuration roadmap will create profiles, directories, and other prerequisites which are required for shadow instance. So when you're running it on a production system, user is already running it on productive instance and he's performing his transactions. Parallelly, we have another shadow instance which does not interfere with the existing transaction. What it does is it will create a shadow instance. For example, if you have your instance is 0, 0, it will create another shadow instance, say for example 99, which is I can configure it. In that 99 instance, users will log on, the basis people and the ABAP team, they will log on and they will do the activities. In this roadmap, it also creates relevant profiles and directories which are required to create an shadow instance. Once the shadow instance is created, then comes the checks roadmap. In this checks roadmap, it checks whether the operating system, the database, and the source, does it match with the target release? Apart from this, it also checks for application specific requirement. For example, SI checks. If you have already done the SI checks, your results are done. In SPRO, you will say you have completed SI checks. Then SOAP tool will read that you have already completed. It will carry forward. If you have not completed, then checks roadmap will stop the upgrade and it will ask you to perform the SI checks. Once the checks are completed, it goes into pre-processing roadmap. In pre-processing roadmap, what happens is the new repository is created. In a shadow instance, you will see, if you log on to the shadow instance, you will see 1909 as a system created. Within this instance, because now the repository has to be shifted, the upgrade tool will prompt you to stop any development that needs to be done. So there is a phase wherein you have to stop your development. That means you will not further carry out any transport requests which are workbench. But you can also carry forward the customizing request because customizing is not still migrated yet. You can carry forward the customizing, but we would recommend customer not to do workbench request, not to carry forward any transports, not to change any development objects, not to do any customizing requests. So you'll have to take a cutover phase wherein you say that, okay, now my transport is going to stop from here. So no business new developments will be done in the development. Even if it is done, it will not take, you will not take it to the production system. So this is a phase where it will stop you from transporting any of the transport requests which you have created in development and quality. Once this roadmap completes, you literally enter into downtime phase. So when you enter into downtime phase, the first thing the IT organization should do is you should take a backup before proceeding. Upon agreed downtime, say for example, you have scheduled it on week 23, you would start your SIM tool on Monday and you reach the downtime on Friday, early morning, and your downtime allocated is on Saturday morning. So whole Friday you wouldn't do anything in this. You'll take a backup of the system. Then on Saturday morning, where it is allowed downtime has been approved, that's where you will continue your execution phases. When you enter into execution phase, some tool will enter into downtime wherein users will not be able to log on to the instance. Okay, the system is shut down, only shadow instance is up, and it will start converting all the application tables and data to match the target release. Once the execution is done, that means you are coming back to the post-processing roadmap. All the data has been converted, all the application repository and the data dictionary has been taken care. Now some tool comes back to uptime, wherein again you will be able to log on to your system. But still users will be logged, only technical users like DDIC or the defined user will be able to log on. Once you log on to the system, you will be performing SPOW, that is the adjustments which you have done it in a development and quality system. You will carry forward the transport, or you, if there is any new object, you will go to SPOW transaction, you will fix that changes. Okay, in this post-processing roadmap, the SUM tool saves all the logs and prompts you to start the certain follow-up activities. And these logs, you have to retain it for few months. Reason? In case in future, if you face any issues in the system which was not acting as it was acting in the earlier stage, then you would like to go back to the particular phase and find out if that object was migrated appropriately, whether the software was upgraded or the data was migrated or converted. So hence we request the customers not to delete these log files, keep it for a while, at least for a while in a way, say one entire life cycle is run for maybe for an year's time, where you can also go through the month-end processing. You can also go through the year-end processing, quarter-end processing. For after 1 year, you can go ahead and delete these logs. In any 1 year, if you have any issues, you can always revert back, come back to the logs and check what has gone wrong where, right? Once you're done with it, there are application-specific follow-up activities. What are these activities? You had done a SI check. When you did a SI check, they were against the SI check, you had custom code adoption, which you have done it. These custom code adoption, you can import it in the post-processing activities, follow-up activities. Apart from this, you also have simplification, list adoption, transports, configuration. If we have changed any configuration during the period between the development, quality, and production, because this entire project can take anything like 2 months to 6 months. So any delta changes which you have done it in the development which was not carried forward to the production, those transports you can take it to the application specific within application specific activities. Apart from this, as a system comes out of from 1511 to 1909, there are certain other activities that needs to be done. That is follow-up activities on SAP Fiori, because Fiori architecture has changed and there are many other new features have been added to enhance the performance. So the system will prompt you to update indexes. It will prompt you to update caches. It will prompt you to invalidate the caches which were built in the previous Fiori application, so that the new caches can be built and new Fiori performance and the application can be realized. Then SAP Fiori Launchpad setting, you might have to do changes as per the improved performance. Although it is not mandatory step, but you should be doing it because ultimately you have gone to 1909 and you want to avail those features which have been introduced. And one of the major feature which we have introduced is Fiori performance. So hence, to improve the Fiori performance, you will have to convert classic UIs from SAP UI to HTML and WebDriver apps, right? Then the most important, security, because you are migrating from 1511 to 1909, there will be a lot of authorizations which will have introduced. So you'll have to check the default authorization value after the upgrade, and you'll need to do an updating of PFCG roles. It could be that you are using the standard roles, or it could be that you are using the Z PFCG roles. These roles needs to be updated as per the application specific follow-up activities, right? Apart from this, you may want to continue with a SPOW. If the code changes are not very critical, you can take it later on as well. So system will allow you to 14 days to complete your SPOW changes. The SPOW is basically if you have done any repository changes, the system will allow you to make changes for 14 days. If you lapse on 14 days, probably you'll have to create a developer key for that particular object. That's it. Once you have done with the application ramp up, you go live. Once you go live, you hand over the system to end users. The business is back and customer can see the benefit of using 1909. Your maintenance is extended and happy to go. So if you need any further information, please check my additional upgrade information, which has a complete list of repository that you could help you to achieve your upgrade project. All said and done, the last slide where I say that we have around 13,800 plus customers. You're not alone in it. They all are pursuing this journey, please do pursue this journey and complete your upgrade and be within the maintenance framework and avail all the SAP benefits which SAP has to offer. Thank you. This is where I end. We can take up question and answers now.